Vegas and Gilbo. With me is Rob Mazaika, taking a look at an 11-game slate tonight. So you and I were talking, big one here. And, overall, we got a lot to break down.
Yeah, it's a big slate tonight. It's going to be a lot of value out there. So there's going to be a couple must-haves potentially and very chalky plays. So try to pay attention to all the injury news going on.
Yeah, definitely. And we were just kind of jumping around talking before, and we had Howard and Bazemore out and then back in within a matter of like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So
and then we got Chris Paul, who's going to be out. Reddick's questionable. Lillard is doubtful. So just some big news you got to pay attention to today.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll get into those as we kind of break down the positions. But looking at Vegas tonight, and really outside of games, I think Orlando-Memphis is probably the only one that I'm really not going to have any exposure to.
Yeah, that's most likely the same for me. That total is just way lower, and every other game at 194.5 right now. So I think I'm going to probably stay away from that one.
Yeah, definitely. Pelicans-Dallas is another low one, but I think that one's pretty reasonable, going after Davis or using the backcourt of Dallas.
Yeah, there's some good players in that game still.
So as far as the top options go, you noticed, Detroit 6-point favorites tonight, which is kind of an indicator that we could get some resting on the Cleveland part. And we'll kind of go into that as we break down players. But, that could be a potential kind of situation to keep an eye on.
Yeah, exactly.
So in terms of top games, is there anyone that you're really just looking to possibly game stack or kind of go really, hard into?
Do a game stack of that Milwaukee-Washington game. That total 213.5 is pretty good, but these teams played twice recently, and those games are fairly high scoring. So there's always potential that can do again. And there's some players that always just put up big numbers for those two teams. So I might have one stack of that game out there.
Yeah, that's a good one. You can play Giannis and you can play Jabari Parker and Wall and Beal. Those usually the kind of four that kind of produce a ton.
Yep. And even like Porter and Morris too, I like because they play a lot better at home.
Yeah, definitely. So
there's the home road splits.
We're looking at kind of Christmas Day games and obviously these teams are, they were the ones who got that game scheduled into their system, and we kind of got to break that down because I feel like that could be something that we see, maybe those players aren't getting the minutes that they usually get.
Yeah, it's a 3 games and 4 nights for Minnesota, Chicago, the Clippers, and the Cavs tonight. And I remember last year, the Cavs played a back-to-back on Christmas Day and the day after. And LeBron, Irving, and Love all played, but they only got like 25 minutes apiece. So you're going to have to watch out for that with some of these teams tonight.
Yeah, and I think, Vegas might be the one that indicates whether they either sit or we're going to see basically them play limited minutes.
Yep.
So let's jump into point guard. And, as we kind of talked about, Chris Paul out tonight. So that's nice. And it seems like he's going to be ruled out for the next 2 games. We shouldn't get that crazy scare where he's going to, play and then come back and not play again.
Like last night.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Exactly.
So, that means just basically Raymond Felton's going to be a guy who picks up, heavy minutes again.
Yeah, him and Austin Rivers too.
Yeah, definitely.
They're both the same price on FanDuel too, so it's really just a pick on who you think is going to do more in their minutes, making up for Paul.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a possibility that JJ Redick sits as well. He came off limp and didn't finish the game last night.
Yeah, so both Felton and Rivers might be good if Redick's out.
Yeah, definitely. And Jamal Crawford. So, those are probably going to be the chalkier guard plays of the night. I don't anticipate a lot of people moving off outside of maybe just GPP pivots.
Yep. And then Damian Lillard, he's questionable right now, more leaning towards doubtful. So Shabazz Napier is actually coming out as a value play right now.
Yeah, you expect CJ McCollum to kind of shift over.
Yep.
And Lillard's a guy who plays, upper 30s, so there's a lot of minutes to kind of go around if he sits. Yeah. You're looking at that. Evan Turner would pick up some minutes there, might handle the ball maybe a little bit more. It's not a particularly great matchup for any of those guys, but I think still in GPP and just terms of usage to go around it, it'll still be okay.
Yeah, Lillard, he shoots a lot, does a lot with the ball, so all that usage has to go somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. And most of it should be going to pretty much McCollum.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Some other guys that, in terms of value that, not necessarily needed for injury, but Patrick Beverley, great matchup against the Suns, and has been producing pretty nicely of late.
Yeah, he consistently gets his value, and his price is starting to creep up, but he's still performing at about 28 points a game, 30 points a game. So he'll hit his value at 58 on FanDuel still, most likely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, had that big game against Phoenix. You might see a little bit higher ownership because people scroll through the game logs and look and go, "Oh, okay, I'm chasing another 40 burger from Beverly there."
Yeah, that's a stretch to ask for, but I think you could peg him around 30 points as a good spot.
Yeah, definitely. Deron Williams is another one I'm looking at. Great matchup against that New Orleans backcourt. And I think those are kind of guys that you can swerve off of. If you have the extra couple thousand, you may not necessarily have to go down to the Clippers guards who, I think we've seen a good indication that they're going to be around 25 fantasy points as a good floor. But, is that ceiling there? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Felton, he's really been putting up big numbers these last 2 games, though, with him filling in. Well, one last game, last night, he had 35 on FanDuel and but he played 38 minutes. So there's the thing again with the minutes you got to pay attention to.
Yeah, definitely. And outside of that, I mean, I think those guys are just going to be the chalky, picks. Malcolm Brogdon, maybe not necessarily tonight, but I feel like he's a guy we should talk about. I mean, back-to-back games with 30 FanDuel points, playing 27, 29, 19 minutes, 27 in his last 4 games.
Yeah, moving
he's
forward,
a guy who could potentially, sneak into that role.
Exactly. Moving forward, you could just watch out for him.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of studs, who are you looking to kind of go and build around tonight at point guard?
Kemba Walker. I'm a big Nets fan. It pains me to say it, but they give up a lot of points and they play very fast-paced games and they give up points to everybody. Kemba Walker's in an elite spot tonight.
Yeah, in only 8K, so I mean a good, cheaper than John Wall, cheaper than Lowry, pretty good price tag on him on both sides. If we get, any trio of the big three, if Love sits, LeBron sits, it's basically whatever, guy of the big three is in there, I think you can rely on.
Yeah, definitely.
So, with Dwight Howard playing and coming back and most likely playing or maybe not playing, who knows? But Dennis Schroeder, I mean, he's a guy who's been really consistent of late. Great matchup against Minnesota. Are you off of him if Howard comes back, or are you still going to be looking at him?
I think I'm still going to look at him a little bit. He's 7,100 on FanDuel, so I'm not actually a big fan of that price, but he's still been consistent even with Howard lately. So I'm still looking
Yeah,
for
he
him.
has. I mean, you look at him. The minutes were, rather low. I mean, they were in the mid-20s, but lately, I mean, 36, 37, 40, and 32 of late. I mean, outside of his game with Charlotte, he's been above 30 FanDuel points basically in every game since the start of December.
Yeah, he's been playing very well these last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Anyone else you like here at point guard?
I'm looking at the other side of that game a little bit with Ricky Rubio as a cash game play, just because he's still only 5,800 on FanDuel and he's gotten 30 plus in 5 of his last 6 games. So he's been a consistent producer of about 5x.
Yeah, he's a guy. I mean, his steals have been there of late 2, 3, 2, 2, 4. I mean, over the last 5 games, finally playing bigger minutes. And him, I mean, never going to really score a ton of real points, but, those peripheral numbers are always going to be there.
Yep, there's a little bit of everything, but it helps you. That's what you want.
Shooting guard, and we talked about Jamal Crawford. I think he's going to be a pretty popular value play if, Redick sits out tonight. But I mean, you and I were talking. I mean, shooting guard is loaded with good plays here.
Yeah, usually it's the position you're either just punting completely or paying up for Harden and Akumo. But tonight there's a good balance. I have about 8 to 10 guys who I have interest in tonight in that position.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we can start at the top here. One thing I always kind of discuss is, Harden 11-6 on FanDuel, Giannis here 10-6. I mean, good $1,000 difference. But I mean, the way Giannis has been producing here of late, and obviously he's produced very well against Washington, who basically struggle on the wing, and he's just a freak athlete anyway. I mean, I don't see many people defending him.
Yeah, he's amazing. And I've noticed one thing with him is that he plays a lot better against teams that don't have an elite shot blocker. And I wouldn't consider Gortat an elite shot blocker. So he's in a prime spot for him tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, looking at that tier lower, DeMar DeRozan, I feel like 8,300 is just in that middle spot of me where I don't know if I can quite pay it.
Yeah, I like him as a cash game play just because in case that game does get out of hand, he's still going to put up his at least 30 fantasy points. But he's got a high floor. His ceiling might be a little lower today with the potential blowout. But I don't know. He's all right for cash, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's still going to get you that 35 FanDuel points.
Exactly.
Does he have the upside of the top two? Obviously not, but you're paying to get that. I mean, I do like guys like, Bradley Beal. I like taking the risk on McCollum, because that usually is going to shift over. If that game stays close, obviously you're banking on McCollum going having a huge game.
Yeah, exactly. If that game stays close, it's going to be all McCollum just shooting lights out, doing everything to try to basically taking over for Lillard.
Yeah, definitely. I know a guy you're on, Devin Booker, 6,200 on FanDuel, really reasonable price. And he's a guy, I mean, once he gets hot, this is a guy with a pretty big upside.
Yeah, I love Devin Booker tonight. These guys played last week, 2 weeks ago, last week, and he had 44.7 on FanDuel, and we know how much James Harden does not care about defense, and he should be the one covering him. So, I mean, he's got the potential to do it again, and he's only 6,200.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, I mean, it's weird. We usually don't look at Booker as a big peripheral rebound assist guy, but 6 rebounds, 6 assists in his last game, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. I mean, if he can start to kind of produce anywhere near those types of numbers and still put up 20 points a night, I mean, we're looking at a pretty solid high floor, high ceiling player.
Yeah, and I usually don't pay attention to coach speak at all, but Earl Watson actually came out and said yesterday or this morning that he's been a lot tougher on Devin Booker this year, and it's really helping him out.
Yeah, so I mean, hopefully we get kind of a consistent Booker in terms of those types of stats.
Exactly. Anyone else you like?
Yeah, I mean, in that same game, I like Eric Gordon. I mean, he's a guy who's just been really consistent shooting the ball off the bench. I mean, I think this is a guy you can just kind of rely on for about 30 FanDuel points, 30 DK points. You get that 3-point bonus as well on DK. And, the price is coming up a little bit, but still under 6K on both sides. So with that total, I mean, it's the highest total of the night. I'm expected to kind of go and focus a lot of pieces there.
Yeah, that game should be very exciting. As long as it stays close, it should be exciting for fantasy purposes.
Yeah,
and then, but he's consistently been doing well. He's 5,700 on FanDuel, so the price, like you said, is creeping up in both sites. But he's playing over around 30 minutes a game, so it's still a good spot for him.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone else you're really looking at shooting guard? I mean, I think Jamal Crawford just takes a lot of play out for me.
Yeah, definitely Jamal Crawford. It's been proven that when Chris Paul is out and Blake Griffin are out, that Jamal Crawford just carries the load himself. And his shot's been falling his whole career, but lately it's been really falling, it looked like, in the last couple of games.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, do you have another name down there?
I got Alan Crabb, too, which we touched on.
Yeah.
And then Nick Batum, a little more expensive, but
like,
he's another guy I'm looking at tonight.
I like Batum more so on DK because he's small forward eligible, so you can plug him in there. But yeah, I'm with you. I think he's, given his price, obviously coming off a big game, the price is starting to really come up there.
Yeah, he's 7,500 on FanDuel, but again, it's the Nets.
Yeah, I mean, that triple-double upside's there.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So, small forwards, not really a ton to look at here tonight, I feel like. Could be a spot to pay down. I mean, obviously, really, LeBron James is the only one, kind of up there. But I feel like, he's probably not even going to play tonight or even see maybe 30-plus minutes.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't think he's going to play tonight, but we'll wait and see. I guess Andrew Wiggins is another guy I'm looking at against Atlanta. He's been playing a lot better lately. It hasn't been just relying solely on his shot, but the rebounds still aren't there. But he's still been putting up around 30 fantasy points on FanDuel per night. So it's a good spot.
Yeah, good spot against Atlanta. I mean, as you put it, this is a guy who generally relies on his scoring, but if he can get you 20, he'll be able to just knock in maybe a couple assists and rebounds to kind of put him over that 30-point mark, which really at that price is all you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
So, DK, I mean, you kind of get the luxury of using Batum, Jabari Parker at small forward, which I highly advise using them there. I just feel like Jabari Parker, that luxury of using him at the 3 just makes so much sense.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. You could potentially play 5 power forwards on DraftKings tonight. You could play one at the small forward, power forward, center, the forward, and the utility, all power forward if you really wanted to.
Yeah, so feel free to use that.
Yeah, if you want to.
Small guys, I mean, or cheap guys here, 5,700 on DK. Robert Covington, in that type of game, I mean, I expect him to kind of be that 25 to 35, fantasy point type guy.
Yeah, he's been up and down this year because he's had games where he's just shot absolutely horrible. But then he'll have games where he could shoot 10 for 15, and they'll all be 3-pointers. So that 3-point bonus is nice for you on DraftKings.
Yeah,
And
and
he's
he
not too
hasn't.
expensive.
Yeah, and he hasn't necessarily killed you because there were times at the beginning of the year where if you rostered him, your lineup was done at 7:45.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been too bad. I mean, 24, 26, 24, 23, 40 over his last 5 games in terms of FanDuel points. So I don't take that at his price, 5,300, to be, not that bad.
Yeah, exactly. And anyone else you like?
As far as cheap guys, I mean, I'm not really on a lot of guys down here. PJ Tucker in that total, I could see getting a lot of minutes and just kind of producing across the board in terms of stats. He's not going to go off for 20 real points, but I think 25, 30 FanDuel points or DK points is viable at his price.
Yeah, his minutes have been trending up lately too. He's starting to get more and more minutes, and I think TJ Warren's going to be guarding Harden in this game, so that might leave PJ Tucker to be out if they're both on the floor at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Warren's coming off back-to-back strong games as well. So, we saw Warren at the beginning of the year. There was a stretch, for about 2 weeks where you were just kind of plugging them in and night out.
Yeah, now PJ Tucker's starting to get his minutes back, so just something to pay attention to over time.
Yeah, definitely.
And then another player, this is Kent Bazemore that we were just talking about before. But what do you think of that with Howard back and Tim Hardaway?
I mean, he's probably off for me. I mean, he may get 30+ minutes again, but in terms of the usage at his price, I feel like there's better guys to probably target in terms of upside.
Yeah, he'd be a tournament play for me.
Yeah. Harrison Barnes, I mean, Dirk's back. In terms of production, I still think Barnes is going to be okay in this type of matchup. I like his price on DK, 6,200. Him and Durant Williams are probably the only guys that I'll be looking to use from this Dallas side.
Yeah, his price is a little better on DraftKings than it is on FanDuel. He's 6,500 on FanDuel, but he's still putting up around. He has a nice floor of around 28 to 30 points fantasy points a game. So I would consider it more of a cash game play.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think on FanDuel, I don't see myself really going above 7K.
Yeah, I don't think so either, unless I was wanted to pay for Paul George, but I don't know about this spot with him.
Yeah, I mean, the Jimmy Butler, Paul George price, I mean, in that game, I'm not particularly thrilled with it.
Yeah, so the mid-range, lower range is where you want to look at this position most likely tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Moving over to power forward, and in terms of injuries, I mean, I don't think there was any for power forward outside of really Blake Griffin, which, we've been dealing with for the last week or so.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I saw.
Yeah, so, I mean, we'll jump right into it. Starting with some value plays, I don't know how much I'll be actually looking to go down here. I think paying up at power forward is really where I'm going to be going.
I don't know. I might go – I like Anthony Davis a lot as a stud just because at home, I saw something that he was averaging maybe like 17 more fantasy points at home than he was on the road. It's something insane like that. Yeah, it's 18.2 more points fantasy points at home than he did on the road. So those home road splits are extreme for him. And he's got a good matchup against Dallas, who can't rebound at all. And he'll be getting every rebound over them. And it's just a premier spot for Anthony Davis tonight.
Yeah, Dallas 30th in rebounding. I mean, there's enough value to fit Davis and another stud into your lineup if you want to. So I like him a lot. And as you point out, the home road splits are there. Had a big 60+ game against Dallas earlier this season. So I think paying up at power forward is really the spot to go because, I mean, you can use guys like Jabari Parker, kind of with him, who's really not quite at a price yet where, he's in that range that makes me think.
Yeah, we talked about Paul Millsap before too, but with Howard back, that kind of downgrades him a little bit. And then the thing with Jabari Parker is, my bad. The thing with Jabari Parker is he has the opposite home run splits of Anthony Davis, where he's actually a lot. Well, it's the same, but opposite spot. He's only averaging 27.5 fantasy points per game on the road, but he's got averaging 37 at home, and tonight they're on the road. So that lowers my interest in him a little bit, but he's still in a good spot.
Yeah, definitely, and playing pretty well. I mean, outside of that, I think FanDuel is it's a little bit drawn down to basically guys like Parker, Davis. As far as those mid range guys, I mean, I thought we were going to get Jokic for a nice stretch there, but 19, 21 minutes over the last two games, he's solely just GPP play at this point.
Yeah, the thing is with those minutes though, he was in foul trouble those 2 games, but that's just the thing with him. He has the potential to get in foul trouble every single game because he still plays that European style of basketball where if a guy's on a fast break, he'll just foul him every single time. He just does not want to
Yeah.
adapt to the American style.
Yeah, I mean, the thing
And
is, I
then,
mean, he struggled against the Clippers last time out too. So I think in terms of ownership, it shouldn't be that high.
no, I mean, he could be a good tournament play, but I can't touch him in cash. I
No.
can't even come close. For values at the position, though, there's 2 names that kind of stand out to me, and one potentially. Marvin Williams would be my favorite value play. He's only 4,400, and yet again, the Nets just bleed fantasy points to everyone, and he's been shooting a lot lately too.
Yeah.
He could get about 10 shots to get in this game tonight, and the majority will be 3-pointers, and Nets do not guard perimeter at all.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Charlotte, you could basically go 1 through 5 with them and feel pretty good about anyone.
Yeah, you really can. That's been actually what I've been doing all season is just stacking teams against the Nets. It pains me to do it, but I keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you're a Nets fan. People may think, you bought that sweatshirt just because you stack against them, so they won you a lot of money.
I could have with all the money they've gotten me.
Around that same price, I mean, I like Ryan Anderson tonight as a GPP play. It has actually had a decent cash floor of late, but I'm kind of looking for that big upside game. I mean, if he gets hot, especially from three, which we've seen in a couple games of late, I don't mind him at his price tag.
Yeah, he's been playing well. He's been shooting the ball well, doing everything across the board. It just all depends on if he's going to get all those minutes.
Yeah, definitely. That's always a thing. But I mean, 231 game total there for Suns and the Rockets.
Yeah, but Houston's minus 13.5, so there's always the potential blowout.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the last name I want to touch on is Terrence Jones if he plays. Because the Pelicans lately, Alvin Gentry finally figured it out to play Anthony Davis at the 5, and he's been playing Terrence Jones at the 4, and both of them are on the floor. They both just do everything for that team.
I like him a lot, and I like the matchup there. As you point out, Dallas really struggles with rebounding. Jones has a good shot at double-double tonight, and I mean, really, I mean, I don't think we're quite worried. I mean, he was ruled out with illness, so should be fine. It wasn't an injury. But yeah, I mean, if the mints are there, we're looking at a really solid value play.
Yeah, he's only 5K on FanDuel. I don't know. What's the DraftKings price, Jason?
4,600, so, in that same range.
Yeah, so it's a good price on both sides for him as a potential value play.
Yeah, definitely. Muno to center, and really DK has a lot of guys in the 6K range. FanDuel, you kind of got to pay up just maybe a little bit to get some of those names, but I think this is a good night to just kind of stick in that mid-range outside of really Boogie.
Yeah, either Boogie. I mean, I liked Towns up until Howard was back, but he's still in a decent spot because he's Karl-Anthony Towns and he's a beast. But Boogie's the guy to pay up for at center tonight if you were paying up.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I don't mind, Brook Lopez in a GPP, especially if you're kind of going with that game stack, and using guys like Kemba and Batum. I feel like Lopez is the guy. Usually when those games are close, like when the Warriors, Brook Lopez was going off.
Yeah, there's certain teams that he does well against. Charlotte, he's typically been average throughout his career against them, but he's the main scorer on that team. He's literally the only competent player in the team, in my opinion. Jeremy Lin's all right, but Brook Lopez, he's far and away their best player, so they're going to keep trying to ride him.
Yeah, definitely.
In
that same game, you're looking at Cody Zeller as probably the premier value center.
Yeah, if I was going value at center, Cody Zeller would be the guy.
Yeah, I mean, 5,100 on FanDuel. I mean, he's a guy who's been playing pretty well, and we're broken records at this point, but basically just play anyone against any spot for Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's true. He even had a really good game against him last time out.
Yeah, definitely.
And that was splitting time at Kaminsky, who also had a big game against them.
Yeah, so I mean, are you quite worried? I mean, Vegas really isn't worried with the blowout, but could you see that happening?
I don't think it's going to blow out. Brooklyn actually plays very well at home. and they tend to keep games close. Like they did. They even stayed close to the Warriors on Friday night or Thursday night, whatever night it was. So I think this game will stay close, and it could go overtime. And that'd be just amazing.
Calling overtime. That's you heard the game stack here, folks. He's calling overtime on this one.
It could be overtime. I don't know.
I mean, the guy I'm looking at as far as outside of that, Montrezl Harrell, 22, 28, 28 minutes in his last three, filling in for Capella. High-paced game, good matchup against the Suns. I think I'm still going to sit in the mid-range, but I definitely don't mind him.
Yeah, his price is slowly starting to creep up. He's gone up with $1,000 since his first game against the Suns last week. But he put up 27 and 28 fantasy points in those two games. So he's still in a good spot for his price of only $4,500 on FanDuel.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're going a different direction, you're going guard heavy, I think that's probably the better guy to go with.
Yeah, definitely.
So, in terms of the mid-range, I mean, I don't mind Gortat. I mean, struggled against Milwaukee in that last game, but I certainly don't mind him, especially if his minutes pick up. He's just pretty much way too cheap for me.
Yeah, he's 6,100 on FanDuel, so I don't love it, but he's got a decent floor.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anyone else you like?
Not really. The thing with Joel Embiid, because everyone loves the process, I actually don't like him tonight because they've been playing him at the power forward position and Okafor at the 5, and he just doesn't look comfortable playing the power forward. So until they either start playing him alone and not with Okafor at the 5, or until he gets comfortable at the power forward, I think I'm going to just stay away from him for a little bit. He's a little too expensive too.
Yeah, price is coming up. I mean, he was a guy who was sitting in the 6K range a lot. Now 7,100 on FanDuel, 75 on DK, so he's expensive. And he's been actually kind of inconsistent here over the last week and a half or so.
Yeah, it's a lot of price to pay for someone who's going up against Boogie too potentially, and Boogie loves drawing fouls.
So yeah, I mean that's always a thing. We've seen it with Towns against Boogie a couple times in his career where he really did struggle.
Yep, definitely.
So, any bold calls for you tonight? Besides overtime game stacks.
That's gonna be my bold call. And I'll say one. I think Devin Booker goes 7x on his price tag on FanDuel.
Going ham. I like that.
Yeah. That's about 40, almost 44 FanDuel points tonight.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I like that quite a bit. For me, man, I don't know. It's kind of tough. I'm going to say Giannis outscores Harden tonight.
That's fair. At $1,000 less too.
Yeah, so that'll be my bold call.
Yep.
So that's going to wrap it up here. Be sure to check out our NBA content at dailyfantasycafe.com, and good luck, guys.
Yeah, good luck everyone tonight. We'll be looking out for you on leaderboards.